Deem not the gold elixir a common thing, without a perfect man's transmitting a subtle rune. You'd have vain words, worn mouth, and tongue waxed dry. Master. Wukong responded at once. Your pupil has been kneeling here and waiting on you for a long time. When the patriarch heard Wukong's voice, he rose and put on his clothes. You mischievous monkey! He exclaimed, sitting down cross-legged. Why aren't you sleeping in front? What are you doing back here, at my place? Wukong replied. Before the platform and the congregation yesterday, the master gave the order that your pupil, at the hour of the third watch, should come here through the rear entrance in order that he might be instructed. I was therefore bold enough to come directly to the master's bed. When the patriarch heard this, he was terribly pleased, thinking to himself, this fellow is indeed an offspring of heaven and earth. If not, how could he solve so readily the riddle in my pot? There is no third party here save your pupil. Wukong said, May the master be exceedingly merciful and impart to me the way of long life. I shall never forget this gracious favor, since you have solved the riddle in the pot. Said the patriarch. It is an indication that you are destined to learn, and I am glad to teach you. Come closer and listen carefully. I will impart to you the wondrous way of long life. Wukong kowtowed to express his gratitude, washed his ears, and listened most attentively, kneeling before the bed. The patriarch said, This bold, secret saying that's wondrous and true. Spare, nurse nature and life, there's nothing else. All power resides in the semen, breath, and spirit. Store these securely, lest there be a leak. Lest there be a leak. Keep within the body. Heed my teaching, and the way itself will thrive. Hold fast oral formulas so useful and keen. To purge concupiscence, to reach pure cool. To pure cool. Where the light is bright. You'll face the elixir platform, enjoying the moon. The moon holds the jade rabbit, the sun, the crow. The tortoise and snake are now tightly entwined. Tightly entwined. Nature and life are strong. You can plant gold lotus-ine in the midst of flames. Squeeze the 5 phases jointly, use them back and forth. When that's done, be a Buddha or immortal at will. At that moment, the very origin was disclosed to Wukong, whose mind became spiritualized as blessedness came to him. He carefully committed to memory all the oral formulas. After kowtowing to thank the patriarch, he left by the rear entrance. As he went out, he saw that the eastern sky began to pale with light. But golden beams shone on the westward way. Following the same path, he returned to the front door, pushed it open quietly, and went inside. He sat up in his sleeping place and purposely rustled the bed and the covers, crying, It's light. It's light. Get up. All the other people were still sleeping and did not know that Wukong had received a good thing. He played the fool that day after getting up, but he persisted in what he had learned secretly by doing breathing exercises before the hour of Zi and after the hour of Wu. 3 years went by swiftly, and the patriarch again mounted his throne to lecture to the multitude. He discussed the scholastic deliberations and parables, and he discoursed on the integument of external conduct. Suddenly he asked, Where's Wukong? Wukong drew near and knelt down. Your pupil's here. He said, What sort of art have you been practicing lately? The patriarch asked. Recently. Wukong said, Your pupil has begun to apprehend the nature of all things, and my foundational knowledge has become firmly established. If you have penetrated to the Dharma nature to apprehend the origin, said the patriarch, you have, in fact, entered into the divine substance. You need, however, to guard against the danger of 3 calamities. When Wukong heard this, he thought for a long time and said, The words of the master must be erroneous. I have frequently heard that when one is learned in the way and excels in virtue, he will enjoy the same age as heaven. Fire and water cannot harm him, and every kind of disease will vanish. How can there be this danger of 3 calamities? What you have learned? said the patriarch, is no ordinary magic. You have stolen the creative powers of heaven and earth and invaded the dark mysteries of the sun and moon. Your success in perfecting the elixir is something that the gods and the demons cannot countenance. Though your appearance will be preserved and your age lengthened, after 500 years heaven will send down the calamity of thunder to strike you. Hence you must be intelligent and wise enough to avoid it ahead of time. If you can escape it, your age will indeed equal that of heaven. If not, your life will thus be finished. After another 500 years heaven will send down the calamity of fire to burn you. That fire is neither natural nor common fire. Its name is the fire of Yin, and it arises from within the soles of your feet to reach even the cavity of your heart, reducing your entrails to ashes and your limbs to utter ruin. The arduous labor of a millennium will then have been made completely superfluous. After another 500 years, the calamity of wind will be sent to blow at you. It is not the wind from the north, south, east, or west. Nor is it one of the winds of 4 seasons. Nor is it the wind of flowers, willows, pines, and bamboos. It is called the mighty wind, and it enters from the top of the skull into the body, passes through the midriff, and penetrates the 9 apertures. The bones and the flesh will be dissolved and the body itself will disintegrate. You must therefore avoid all 3 calamities. When Wukong heard this, his hairs stood on end and, kowtowing reverently, he said, I beg the master to be merciful and impart to me the method to avoid the 3 calamities. To the very end, I shall never forget your gracious favor. The patriarch said, It is not, in fact, difficult, except that I cannot teach you because you are somewhat different from other people. I have a round head pointing to heaven, said Wukong, and square feet walking on earth. Similarly, I have 9 apertures and 4 limbs, entrails, and cavities. In what way am I different from other people? The patriarch said, Though you resemble a man, you have much less jowl. The monkey, you see, has an angular face with hollow cheeks and a pointed mouth. Stretching his hand to feel himself, Wukong laughed and said, The master does not know how to balance matters. Though I have much less jowl than human beings, I have my pouch, which may certainly be considered a compensation. Very well, then, said the patriarch. What method of escape would you like to learn? There is the art of the heavenly ladle, which numbers 36 transformations, and there is the art of the earthly multitude, which numbers 72 transformations. Wukong said, Your pupil is always eager to catch more fishes, so I'll learn the art of the earthly multitude. In that case, said the patriarch, come up here and I'll pass on the oral formulas to you. He then whispered something into his ear, though we do not know what sort of wondrous secrets he spoke of. But this Monkey King was someone who, knowing one thing, could understand 100. He immediately learned the oral formulas and, after working at them and practicing them himself, he mastered all 72 transformations. One day when the patriarch and the various pupils were admiring the evening view in front of the 3 Stars cave, the master asked, Wukong, has that matter been perfected? Wukong said, Thanks to the profound kindness of the master, your pupil has indeed attained perfection. I now can ascend like mist into the air and fly. The patriarch said, Let me see you try to fly. Wishing to display his ability, Wukong leapt 50 or 60 feet into the air, pulling himself up with a somersault. He trod on the clouds for about the time of a meal and traveled a distance of no more than 3 miles before dropping down again to stand before the patriarch. Master, he said, his hands folded in front of him. This is flying by cloud soaring. Laughing, the patriarch said, This can't be called cloud soaring. It's more like cloud crawling. The old saying goes, the immortal tours the North Sea in the morning and reaches Tongwu by night. If it takes you half a day to go less than 3 miles, it can't even be considered cloud crawling. What do you mean? Asked Wukong. By saying, the immortal tours the North Sea in the morning and reaches Tongwu by night. The patriarch said, Those who are capable of cloud soaring may start from the North Sea in the morning, journey through the East Sea, the West Sea, the South Sea, and return again to Tangwu. Tangwu refers to Lingling in the North Sea. It can be called true cloud soaring only when you can traverse all 4 seas in one day. That's truly difficult, said Wukong. Truly difficult. Nothing in the world is difficult, said the patriarch. Only the mind makes it so. When Wukong heard these words, he kowtowed reverently and implored the patriarch. Master, if you do perform a service for someone, you must do it thoroughly. May you be most merciful and impart to me also this technique of cloud soaring. I would never dare forget your gracious favor. The patriarch said. When the various immortals want to soar on the clouds, they all rise by stamping their feet. But you're not like them. When I saw you leave just now, you had to pull yourself up by jumping. What I'll do now is to teach you the cloud somersault in accordance with your form. Wukong again prostrated himself and pleaded with him, and the patriarch gave him an oral formula, saying, "Make the magic sign, recite the spell, clench your fist tightly, shake your body, and when you jump up, one somersault will carry you 108,000 miles." When the other people heard this, they all giggled and said, "Lucky Wukong."